Thank you, Jeff the Fish. We are the Not Ready for E1 players. Coming up today on the show, Stefania Bell drops by with her injury minions to tell us who's in it and who's out for week number 13. Field Yates is here. We're going to tell you who's welcome to Dumpsville. Plus, we react to that Monday Night Football game. But first, Secret Squirrel, today's show will be...
Ooh, smart and sassy like Einstein.
I hear you. So Tom Savage's post-game press conference on Monday night lasted a total of 4 seconds. And honestly, that was an appropriate amount of time to spend on that game. Tom Savage and Joe Flacco proved once again that they are,
Terrible.
No, Daniel, no. We don't say terrible here. We say not fantasy relevant.
Oh.
See, it's much nicer. And I want to have a positive, uplifting show. Anyway, before I was interrupted by stupid squirrel over there, I was saying that the Ravens and Texans didn't really give us anything new, right? Flacco and the Ravens receivers, they can't be played in any league. We'll see what happens when Will Fuller comes back, but unless you're in a super deep league where you're desperate and you need to hope that Bruce Ellington does something with all those targets, DeAndre Hopkins, the only fantasy relevant pass catcher among the Texans, while Lamar Miller remains a high-end RB2. Frankly, the only new information we got last night wasn't good news, it was bad.
Hey, everybody, it's me, the Bear of Bad News. I'm a bear, and I got that.
All right, so stop it, Bear, stop it. I'm not in the mood trying to keep this short. Go down there, thank you very much. All right. Anyone who has a Ravens running back knows what bad news is, right? Alex Collins got in the end zone, sure. Danny Woodhead got more snaps than his return in Week 12, but come on. Buck Allen's still more involved than expected. He also got a touchdown. As long as Buck Allen remains involved, none of these guys are going to get enough touches to trust them as anything more than like a flex option. Baltimore in a clear-cut three-way running back by committee. Anyone who is hoping for Woodhead or Collins going to be a true difference maker for them to get into the fantasy playoffs or help them win in the fantasy playoffs, I'm sorry, not going to happen.
Buzzing.
Raiders wide receiver Michael Crabtree, who entered Week 12 as wide receiver 20, has been suspended for 2 games by the NFL yesterday for his incident with Aqib Talib. The specific offenses: unsportsmanlike conduct and unnecessary roughness. Now, unnecessary roughness is an issue we take very seriously on the show. In fact, my boss, Norby, created a workplace training video to teach all of us what constitutes unnecessary roughness.
Even on ESPN shows that no one watches because there's no discussion of LeBron, workplace safety is very important. Here are things you should avoid at all times: drownings, groin injuries, bear attacks, strangulations, cannibalism, and lightning strikes. Steer clear of all these things and you can have a safe and healthy show. Speaking of healthy, in 15 NBA seasons, LeBron James has never suffered a major injury. He's really amazing.
Thanks, boss. So back to Crabtree. If his appeal is not successful, he's going to be out the next 2 weeks, which means Seth Roberts is a target on the waiver wire. Raiders' final wide snap count on Sunday against the Broncos. You see it on your screen. Seth Roberts played the most snaps week and was top 10 in the entire last year in red zone targets. But also don't overlook Cordero Patterson. Look, I know, all right? I probably shouldn't be allowed to even mention Cordero Patterson's name. But look, he did lead the Raiders, I should say, in receiving last week. His big play abilities could work well this week in deeper leagues. He's facing the Giants, who allow the 5th most yards after the catch in the NFL. Both Roberts and Patterson, by the way, available in more than 50% of ESPN leagues.
Hey, thanks for the tip, Matthew. I'll try to add Roberts and Patterson right after I go take a bath while making some toast.
So I am about to make modern fantasy football history right here, right now. We're entering Week 13 of the NFL season, right? The month of December, 1 week before the fantasy playoffs. That time of year when you only want the best of the best in your lineup. And yet, I'm going to talk about a Cleveland Brown. You heard me, a real-life Cleveland Brown. If I'm not mistaken, this is the latest a Cleveland Browns player has been mentioned on the fantasy show since Week 14 of the 1965 season. Come on, man. You know Jim Brown's a must-start this week. All right, Secret Squirrel, I turn to you. Who do you like this week?
Yeah, man, listen. I'm really grooving this new band you probably never heard of, the Rolling Stones.
All right, we'll see if they last.
Yeah, I doubt it. They might be a flash in the pan. But I do like Lions halfback Amos Marsh. He's really groovy. You dig?
I did dig. And going forward, I potentially dig Josh Gordon, who will be in the lineup for the Browns after being out of football for more than 2 years. Or many toddler viewers who may not remember Gordon's previous time in Cleveland. Dude was pretty awesome in 2013. Led the NFL in receiving despite playing just 14 games. And did that playing with Jason Campbell, Brandon Weeden, and Brian Hoyer at quarterback. In fact, Gordon became the only player in NFL history to record 200 receiving yards in back-to-back games from a fantasy perspective. He was wide receiver 3 overall, and on a per-game basis, he was the best wide receiver in fantasy, number 1. All that's great, right? But it was also 4 years ago. Obviously, Gordon should be rostered in every league. He has tremendous upside, right? But it's week 13. Until he shows us something, I don't see how you can have him in your lineup with the playoffs on the line. Yes, Hugh Jackson said that he has, quote, big plans for Gordon. But the Browns are 1-26 under Hugh Jackson. His plans don't always work out, you know what I mean? So while you're waiting to see what Gordon can provide, here's some receivers available in more than 50% of leagues that I like more of this group. How about Josh Dotson? You see it there in your screen. Dotson, Zay Jones, Dontrell Inman, Corey Coleman, and Seth Roberts. I like Dotson the most. He's been targeting the end zone 7 times and in the last 3 games. Touchdown regression coming. Zay Jones, continue to see a ton of targets in Buffalo, has a very favorable schedule down the stretch. If you need someone just for the playoffs, Zay Jones is your guy. I also like Dontrell Inman, who's getting a ton of targets, gets San Francisco this week. Corey Coleman, obviously very talented. He's also getting a ton of looks, but a very tough matchup this week with the Chargers. And Seth Roberts, who's getting a shot with Crabtree's suspension. By the way, if you have an eye just towards the playoffs, you're not worried about this week, after Zay Jones, worth noting Mike Wallace faces the Browns and the Colts in weeks 15 and 16. Coming up after the break, Stephania Bell going to come by to talk about injured players like Greg Olsen and Juju Smith-Schuster. And our injury minions will be along to Juju on that beat. Stay tuned. First off, yes, Colin, it happens all the time. I hear it from a ton of people. But the best part is your opponent, Clay, sent us a picture of your matchup and points at the best part. You actually lost because Justin Tucker made a 49-yard field goal last night, not a 50-yard field goal. The 2-yard run by Danny Woodhead on 3rd and 8 on the play before is actually what knocked you out of the playoffs. Sorry, dude. All right, time once again for Show Me Where It Hurts. Fabrizio and Marcello are in the house, which must mean Stephania Bell is here to talk about all the Week 13 injuries. Hello, Stephania. Let's get right to his fantasy players. We're so excited to get Greg Olsen back into the lineup. Cam Newton misses in the end zone, then he leaves the game. What do we know about Greg Olsen and that foot?
Well, you can relax a little bit because there was no major re-injury of this foot. So just to recap, 5th metatarsal, Jones fracture for Greg Olsen, injured in week 2, goes on IR, doesn't come back for 10 weeks. And then he leaves, as you mentioned, doesn't come back in the second half, but only soreness in his foot. Now, they re-imaged it, saw no new structural damage. And the thing is, the fracture can appear healed, but on the inside, that bone is still remodeling itself. So all you have to go by is player soreness, and that's why they have to respect it. I'd say he's 50-50 to go this week. He wants to play. They're going to be cautious with him because they want to make sure that he's good down the stretch.
So something to watch out for, but if you have Greg Olsen, you're going to need to make another plan just in case he can't go on Sunday.
But for fantasy playoffs, I expect him to be in really good shape.
Which is great news if you've managed to make the playoffs without Greg Olsen for most of the season. All right, talk about his former teammate, Kelvin Benjamin. Show me where it hurts on Kelvin Benjamin.
Kelvin Benjamin's right knee. Now, if you want the good news, this is not the left knee, the one he injured earlier in the season, the one that had the ACL reconstruction.
Right.
This is a new injury, and we heard initially no major ligament damage, but then yesterday Sean McDermott saying he has a torn meniscus in his right knee. I think people assumed automatically that would mean surgery, but no, he's day-to-day. Not all meniscus injuries require surgery, and certainly not immediately. And if you look at the seasonal calendar, if he had an injury that required surgery, they certainly would have done it. But if not, if they think they can treat it with rehab, you're late in the season, it's better to try that and see how it goes. So I would say, look, he's an increased risk of injury going forward, knowing that this is present. And he may not be ready this week, but he's still in the mix to be able to come back.
All right, so we will follow that subject. Hard to trust him, although they are playing the Patriots. They could be, they might be down and needing to throw in that particular game. Let's talk about Amari Cooper. Tough game for him this past weekend.
Yeah, it took a big hit that obviously forced him to exit the game in the concussion protocol. But we learned on Monday that he also sprained his left ankle at the same time, apparently on the same exact play. And we don't want to read into what the timetable would be coming back from the head injury, but certainly with 2 injuries on the docket, tough for Amari Cooper. And of course, they don't have Michael Crabtree either.
Yeah, he's suspended as well. So it's probably going to be the Seth Roberts and Cordero Patterson show on Sunday for Oakland. Let's talk about Lamar Miller playing last night, but got a little banged up.
Yeah, a little scary after he gets in the end zone. You see him, and these guys were really sliding as they went out, and you run into the personnel on the sidelines and the sticks. They were examining his left leg, but he was able to come back into the game, and Lamar Miller should be fine for this week.
Good news for Lamar Miller and the Texans. What about Juju Smith-Schuster?
Remember when Tomlin said last week it was a small hamstring issue?
Yep.
When you're a speed guy, that's enough to keep you out. This week, Tomlin says he has a chance to play. It is a Monday night game, so you'll want to stay tuned and see if he's able to get back in practice by the end of the week.
And real quick, Jordan Reed on Thursday night. What do we know, Stefania? Show me where it hurts.
No practice Monday, no practice Tuesday because of the hamstring. This will be his 5th straight game that he misses. Hard to count on him going forward.
No question. Redskins and fantasy players feeling the frustration, as I'm sure Jordan Reed is as well. Final Fantasy playoff push is here. Not a time to rest on your laurels. You have to stay aggressive, make some moves to help you clear up some roster space. We, of course, welcome our friend, Field Yates, along with Fred, our fantasy research entertainment device. Fred, how you feeling today?
Terrible as usual, but I have a joke to make it all better. How many robots does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know, Fred. How many robots does it take to screw in a light bulb?
0. We're not hampered by inferior human eyes, which will make it much easier for us to eventually destroy you all. Get it? Your time on the planet is up. That's why it's funny.
I'm depressed.
You know what? I actually knew that. I knew our time on the planet was limited. Thank you, Fred. All right, so we've got some guys here on Dumpsville, and we start with Jordy Nelson Field.
Go ahead. Dumpsville, Matthew. Now, I would have said a couple weeks ago, like, keep him in the friend zone because Aaron Rodgers is eligible to return as soon as Week 15. But you probably didn't draft Jordy Nelson to be on your bench. And right now, he can't be anywhere but your bench. I have no problem with dropping Jordy Nelson right now. If you need to add a running back, perhaps you want to stream a quarterback this week because of injuries or bad matchups.
Yeah, you know what? Hard to argue with that. Single-digit fantasy points now in 5 straight games. In fact, less than 8. Brett Hundley's playing better, even in a game where he's playing Randall Cobb, it's Devontae Adams. Jordy just not getting the looks that he used to. What about Emmanuel Sanders here?
Yeah, weirdly enough, he's a player that, like, I'm going to keep in the friend zone and concede. I don't know what to do with him week to week, right? Like, I continue to put him in the lineup, but he feels a lot more like a flex play, maybe even a high-end wide receiver 4 as compared to a must-start every single week. Oddly enough, Trevor Siemian, yes, that Trevor Siemian, who got benched for Brock Osweiler, yes, that Brock Osweiler actually feels like the best option for fantasy purposes by a little bit amongst Broncos quarterbacks.
Sanders averaged over 12 fantasy points a game in Trevor Siemian starts. Siemian, of course, going to be starting for the Broncos. I agree with you. Keep him in the friend zone there. All right, who's coming up next, Fred? Oh, we've got Doug Martin, the muscle hamster Field.
Yeah, this one's really tough as well. I'm going to keep him in the friend zone. Now, obviously, we don't know how long it will be until he returns from that concussion suffered in Week 12, but let's say he returns in Week 14, Matthew. I'm just the hypothetical here. Like, he's probably still going to get between 15 and 20 touches. Now, has he been effective with those touches? Not even close.
No, he hasn't been.
He has not been. But still, like, I'm telling you, when we do our ranks each week, and of course it's Tuesday, it's rankings day here at ESPN, you get past, like, the 12th running back, and it starts to get murky. You get to running back 20, and it's a total disaster. So I'm keeping Doug Martin.
You know what? I'm going to overrule you here. Put him in Dumpsville.
Right.
Single-digit fantasy points in 5 games. Like, when he's getting the work, he hasn't been effective. Offense doesn't seem to be able to effectively run the ball. They haven't done it much all year long. I mean, he looked okay before he got injured on Sunday, but he's banged up and been ineffective. I have no problem if you want to lose him from your roster. All right? Who's next? C.J. Anderson.
I mean, this one we should
back
probably
another
see.
Bronco.
Yeah, I was going to say, we should see this one pretty clearly, Matthew. It's got to be Dumpsville. Listen, we're getting to the point where, like, I don't even know if he's good for 8 touches a game, much less 20 touches a game. Devontae Booker seems to be the preferred running back in this Broncos offense, and for all their ineffectiveness at quarterback, like, the offensive line issues are just as glaring. C.J. Anderson was a total non-factor in that game against the Raiders this past weekend, and, like, for a team to have an effective multi-running back offense, they either have to be super high scoring, which Denver is not, or playing with a lead. I also don't see that even against a bad Miami team this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, he's been out-snapped by Devontae Booker in 4 straight games. He got 5 carries on Sunday, 5. He's a backup running back on a bad team. you and I are on the same page. Sadly, C.J. Anderson, welcome to Dumpsville. All right, Bilal Powell.
Yep, friend zone here, and I'm just going to use some historical data here. In 2015, finishes strong with 25 catches in the last 4 games. Last year, last 4 games, 2016, had over 110 total touches, Matthew. I know that's sort of anecdotal, but I'll go with the friend zone for Bilal Powell, even though there's 3 running backs in New York that kind of factor each week.
Yeah, you know what? I'm torn on this. I will say this. If you needed to dump him, I wouldn't be like, what are you doing there? Because I totally get it. He's in a 3-way running back by committee there. He's been a top 25 running back once a season. But, yes, he has finished strong each of the last 2 seasons. I don't know how long Matt Forte keeps that knee healthy. He's been up, so we could see something from Bilal Powell before it's all done. What about Cameron Brate?
This one's so easy, Matthew. If anybody's arguing anything other than Dumpsville, I'm not sure what they're seeing. One catch this past week. Like, where have the days of Cameron Brate being this super legit, consistent tight end gone? Heck, I think I'd rather prefer a guy like Ricky Seals-Jones this weekend for the Arizona Cardinals. Go with the upside rather than what he has been recently, which is a non-factor.
1 pass. He's caught exactly 1 pass in 4 straight games. There's just no connection between him and Fitzmagic. Once Jameis Winston comes back, but I agree with you, you can't roster multiple tight ends, and you can't be starting this guy until Jameis Winston comes back at quarterback. So I'm with you. Cameron Brate, sadly, welcome to Dumpsville. All right. Thank you, Field, very much. And Fred, thank you, my friend.
No problem. I just used the artificial intelligence you programmed me with to identify interrelationships among the various tasks in your generated project plan. Now I'll use that same AI to plan your destruction. Sleep well, babies.
In fairness, when he destroys us, it's not as if he hasn't given us warning.
It's a good point, although I'm still sort of frightened by this guy. He's got a large green head.
He's,
I'm not sure why you keep Fred around each week.
To be honest, I'm not either. But they could say that about me as well. A month about beating me back in week 6 in our show league, but now he may not even make our 6-team playoff. Secret Squirrel, I replaced your avatar there. You've had your big sign there for a whole long time, and now you know what I've done?
What?
I've made another bigger sign. Look at this sad little avatar.
Yep.
Look at my team. I could have, 155 to 104, like, that should be illegal in some states,
You know
what I did to you.
It's so easy to win with Tom Brady and Alvin Kamara and all these fancy
And Brandon
players.
Cooks and Adam Thielen. You know what? I could have taken
I'll tell you
out
what.
Alvin Kamara and
Why
still
don't you
beat
try and win with my team, Samaje Perine? You know how hard it is to a guy to win with Samaje Perine?
Should have drafted better, brother.
It's not my fault. What do you want me to do?
Well, maybe not talk trash, because then I have to make a point.
Okay. All right.
Really, I could have taken out Alvin Kamara and still beat you.
I'm in the 6th seed of the playoffs. I'm coming for you.